Well, I got a couple rounds of 357 mag loaded up in the Derya RAN Ironwolf. I have not shot this yet. So these are going to be the first shots. Yeah, that's pretty badass. Alright, before we dive into this first shots video, I want to get a few things out of the way real quick. Derya did send this out to the channel for me to do a review on it. I also want to give a big shout out to Pursuit Armory. They are a local gun store right here in my hometown, and they are handling all the FFL transfers for the channel. And now I want to talk about one of the biggest supporters of my channel, and that is Rise Armament. I've been using their triggers in my AR-15s for years, long before I started this YouTube channel, and they've been nice enough to give you, my subscribers, a 20% off discount code on everything on their website. And use this code right here to get your 20% off. Now, with all that out of the way, let's head out to the range and see what all we got on the menu today for the Derya RAN Ironwolf. All right, let's go over everything we got on the menu today. We're going to start off with the 38 Special, and this is the ammo I'm going to be shooting my groups with. This is some MagTech 158 grain. And then we also have some 130 grain Federal American Eagle. Now we're going to move on to the 357 Magnum. We got some Cellar and Below 158 grain. And I also want to try the Hornady Critical Duty. This is a 135 grain Flex Lock bullet. So let's talk about how I've got this gun set up. So I went ahead and did the paracord wrap on the lever, just like I did on my Citadel 44 mag. For the optic, I went with the Viridian MDS 35. And for the light, we've got the brand new Phoenix GL30R on here. And I will have separate reviews coming out on the optic and on the light. And the shell holders I have on here were made by Jeff, who is one of my subscribers. And I thought that was pretty awesome that he did that for me, especially on short notice. Now, if you want to see how this gun comes right out of the box, I've already done an unboxing video. We went over all the specs, all the features, all of that was covered in that video. So you may want to go back and watch that first before you watch this one, because all this video is going to be about is my first shots and first impressions with this. If you don't want to go back and watch it, I'm going to bring the specs up on the screen and you can pause it and check it out. So the majority of all the ammo I shot through this on day one was that MagTech 38 Special. And you're going to hear me say this a lot throughout this video, but this gun has very little recoil. I think a lot of it has to do with the weight of this gun, and a little bit of it has to do with the stock, which we're going to get into here in a little bit. And maybe it's just because I'm a little bit jaded, but the last lever action I shot was a 44 mag, and that thumps you pretty good. But even when I ran 357 Magnum through this, I felt very little change in the recoil impulse going from the 38 Special to the 357 mag. And the only 357 mag I had with me at the range was that Cellar and Below, so I thought, well, maybe it's just a little weak. So I went ahead and put some of the Hornady Critical Duty in it, and honestly, there really wasn't much difference in between the two. All right, ran them all fine. It's got a little bit more kick than the Cellar and Bellow, but other than that, it's very manageable. Everything I've shot through this gun is a pleasure to shoot. This gun's got so much weight, that stock and everything as a whole package. It's just an awesome, fun gun to shoot. So what's it like shooting the RAN Ironwolf? Well, we've already talked about felt recoil. It pretty much has none, whether you're shooting 38 Special or 357 Magnum. Now, will the 44 mag version of this be a little different, or the 45 Long Colt? Probably. But if you want a nice soft shooting lever action, then I would definitely go with the 357 version. And 38 Special and 357 Magnum is quite a bit cheaper than 44 Magnum. Now, as far as my experience shooting this gun, I love it. Nice. The action on this is very smooth. And the trigger on this, it's just awesome. There is no take up. It just breaks. And in the unboxing video, we did put a trigger pull scale on this, and it was breaking right at 3.5 pounds. It's a really good trigger. And the M-LOK handguard on this is quite comfortable the way I have it set up. Now, I do shoot with a C-clamp, so I kind of have to watch where I put my thumb on this, because when you're running it suppressed, especially with 357 Magnum, it gets hot pretty quick. So if you look here on the top, if I put my thumb right here in this area, it's pretty good. But if you put it right here, you're right on that barrel, and it does get hot. And since we're talking about the barrel getting hot and shooting this suppressed, this makes an awesome suppressor host. I took my anechoic 35L to the range, and I shot 38 through it, which is pretty damn quiet. And even with the 357 Magnum, that anechoic 35L and the quiet cap on the end of it, it quieted that 357 down quite a bit. All right, we're gonna do something a little different here. I've got 38 and 357 loaded up in this. So I've got 138, 357, 138, so on and so on. I'm going to show you guys what the recoil impulse looks like between the two. We're going to start out with the 38. 357. Definitely a difference. That 38 shoots so smooth, and the 357 ain't bad. All right, we're going to do that same test again, but this time we're going to run it suppressed. Now, I've got the anechoic 35L on here. I do not have the flow-through cap. I'm using the quiet cap, so I don't have my ears in. I want to hear what this sounds like. Same thing. We're going to start off with 38, 357, then 38. Here we go. Not bad. That's a little louder. Now, I want to talk about something if you are going to run a suppressor on this. It does obviously have a threaded barrel, and the thread pitch on this is 1/2x28. But when you go to put a can on here, and it is all going to depend on the suppressors, but with the anechoic 35L, when I thread the suppressor on, it does hit into the tube, just barely, and I don't think it would really hurt anything, but I was still a little skeptical, and I didn't want to shoot it like that. So if you notice here on the barrel, I've actually got a jam nut on here. And I bought a pack of these. They're quite cheap because I have to run one of these on my AKV9. So if you are going to run this suppressed, I would definitely suggest you get a jam nut. It'll just keep that suppressor from rubbing on the tube. So now let's talk about loading this gun. Now, it does have a side loading gate, and it actually loads quite easy. The first few times you load it, it's going to be a little stiff, but it got quite a bit easier as the day went on, because I did end up shooting a little over 500 rounds through this. Now, as far as your capacity goes, and if I'm wrong on this, I'm going to bring the right capacity up on the screen because we talked about it in the unboxing video. But you're able to load 9 rounds in the tube of 38 Special. On the 357, I think it's still 9, but it might be 8. And no matter what you're loading in the side gate, whether it's 38 Special or 357, I thought it loaded pretty easy. So now let's talk about the stock on this. Now, if you look here on this side, I do have 6 rounds of critical duty 357 Magnum, but right behind this is a plate that you can mount an M-LOK shell holder to it, just like this. But I thought it was pretty cool that they put the plate here to mount a shell holder. Now, what's super cool about this stock is, number one, it just looks badass, but it is fully adjustable. So you can adjust the stock up and down. You got this wheel right here. You turn it and it will go down, and you turn it and it will go up. Now the next thing is you can also adjust the cheek riser. This will go up and down. You have these 2 screws here, loosen them up, and you can raise this up and down. And it's also ambi. That's why it's on the side that it's on right now, because I'm a wrong-handed shooter. But you can switch this around for a right-handed shooter. Same thing with the plate that's holding my shell holder. You can also switch it to the other side. Now, if you look here, you also have a QD mount, and it is also ambi. And if you look here, we have a place to mount a sling. Push the button, pull out, and you can switch it over to this side. So let's get into the pros and cons with the Derya RAN Ironwolf. We're going to hit the cons first because, well, there are a few cons to this gun. This does have a crossbolt safety, but it also has a safety on the lever. As you can see, it's right here. You pull up on that, and it will let the trigger fire. So if you look, you cannot pull the trigger right now, but you lift up on this, and you can. So basically, in order to pull the trigger, you're going to have to pull up all the way on the lever and then pull the trigger. Now, I'm not a big fan of it, but there are other lever actions out there that have this same kind of safety, and you do get used to it. But I do want to point it out because I'm not a big fan of it, so there's probably other people out there that are not going to be a big fan of it. The next con, and I know this is going to come up because people have already been making comments about it in the unboxing video. How well does it feed 38 Special? And it actually feeds it pretty well, but there's kind of a learning curve with it. When I first started filming with this on day 1, I was kind of just, I don't know what you want to call it, maybe short stroking it, but with the 38, you just kind of have to get a little aggressive with it. And it only happens on the first round. But if I'm just kind of not paying attention to what I'm doing when I cycle the rifle, when I go to pick up that first round, sometimes I will jam it in right underneath the feed ramp. So that's something else I wanted to bring up. And the weird thing is, it's only with the very first round. After that, it feeds the 38 Special just fine. Now, when it comes to 357, zero issues. I did shoot 150 rounds of 357 mag through this, and it ran flawless. And the last con with this is mounting an optic to this. Due to the fact that this has top ejection, you're going to have to kind of go with a red dot or a green dot. You're not going to be able to put an LPVO on here, and you're not going to even be able to put a prism on here. Number one, the LPVO, you're not going to get the eye relief you need. And the further you bring it back, or try to bring it back, you're going to interfere with the ejection on this. With a prism optic, if you're going to put it here where I have this green dot, well, same thing. You're not going to have the eye relief you need to use it on this gun. So you're going to have to go either with the iron sights. And speaking of the iron sights, you do have a white dot front sight. You have a blacked out rear. But one thing that's really sweet on the rear sight, it is fully adjustable. You can adjust the windage and the elevation on it. Now, you could go with some sort of scout scope if you can track one down, and then you could have a magnified optic on here, or possibly a pistol scope. So now that we got all the cons out of the way, let's get right into the pros because, well, There's a lot of pros when it comes to this gun. The first pro with this gun, and we talked about this in the unboxing as well, the price on this thing. The MSRP on this is $9.99. And I've been doing some research online, and I have found these as low as $7.50, which I don't think is bad at all. The next pro with this is this stock. I love being able to adjust the cheek riser, the height of the stock. Having all this adjustability is just awesome, and then having it being fully ambi where I can switch things around is even better. I was going to bring this up in the cons because we talked about it in the unboxing, but I kind of like it now. So in the unboxing, I said once you get this all set up and adjusted the way you want it, if you look on this side, we have 4 flathead screws. And what I said was there is a little bit of flex in this stock. And I said once I get this all dialed in, I'm going to tighten up those flathead screws and lock everything down. That doesn't work. They're already locked down and as tight as you can get them. But back to that felt recoil. I actually got used to this, and I think it kind of helps a little bit with that felt recoil. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. The next pro is the M-LOK handguard. And again, it comes with this right out of the box. But you've got all kinds of real estate here. You got it all across the bottom, the sides, and you can just mount things here wherever you want them. And unlike my Citadel, our 1913 rail here that I have my optic mounted on, well, I never had to tighten it up. It just stayed rock solid. And I didn't do anything with it. No Loctite or anything like that. And even with this big heavy optic on here, it held up just fine. The next pro with this, the threaded barrel. And this gun runs awesome, suppressed. And I'm glad to see that they did 1/2x28 threads. And I think that's pretty much all I want to go over in this video. Now, one thing I did not do with this gun in this video, and I know some people are going to complain about it, is I did not do any long-range shooting. I never shot this gun past 50 yards. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, we're going back to no magnified optic on this. All I'm using is a green dot. And the other reason, those multi-purpose bays that I shoot in, they're only about 55, 60 yards deep to begin with. So we'll end up bringing this one back for sure for a 1,000-round review because I'm just having way too much fun shooting it. So I think what we'll do at the beginning of that video is we'll just go to the rifle range and we'll stretch this thing out to 100 yards and we'll see if we can even hit steel with it at 200 yards. I guarantee you that 357 Magnum's not going to have any problem doing that. It's whether or not my eyes and this green dot are going to be able to get the bullet where it needs to go. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.